stand. We've got the latest Manchester United transfer news for you, and some people would say it's been a very quiet day. It hasn't. There's absolutely loads to update you on involving Bruno Fernandes, David De Gea, João Felix, De Ligt. Some of it's like little tears on a cake, I would call it. Not crying tears, just like another tear on the cake of the transfer. Some of it is a brand new cake for us to eat in the summer. That is transfer window. So let's fly straight into it. We're going to talk off, first of all, about Bruno Fernandes. We've got the shields on my left where you can see the updated information in there. Maddison is no longer a centre-back, which is great to see. But Ojogo from Portugal, the most reliable outlet when it comes to football news, have had their say on Bruno Fernandes. We've had Ebola, we've had Nacional, who we spoke about yesterday, but Ojogo are considered to be one of the better, more reliable Portuguese outlets. What have they said? Man City out of the race for Bruno Fernandes. They don't fancy the 70 million fee, probably because they're looking at Rodri at Atletico Madrid, and apparently after João Felix, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And on top of that, they've said that Manchester United are in for him. Look like they're leading the race, but Inter Milan may pop in. Inter Milan, I think, are the Italian Manchester United this year. They seem to be linked with everybody. I've heard that Inter Milan are after Lukaku, Bale, everybody. I've only named two, but there's loads of players. Griezmann, a last minute deal. I don't get it. Inter Milan haven't got that much money, so interesting about those. But Paul Blale says that Bruno doesn't look any good. Yeah, like you've actually watched him, Paul. He actually wears the cap. An interesting thing I haven't told you about Bruno Fernandes, has been involved in 42 goals in 48 games for Sporting Lisbon this season. Some of those assists, some of them goals. As a midfielder, he can play box-to-box or attacking. Skillful, can shoot, good at dribbling, can put a tackle in. Very, very good all-round player. Always a risk when a foreign player comes into the Premier League, of course, if it's going to happen. But what a lot of you might not realise about Bruno Fernandes is that he wears the captain's armband for Sporting Lisbon sometimes. So maybe he's a little bit of a leader as well, or is it just because he's their best player? Either way, I think that's a positive as far as I'm concerned. I think there is another outlet talking about Bruno Fernandes which I want to talk about, but I just want to reiterate, we have got Adam coming on from Get French Football News as well. Some very big news about De Gea, PSG, so we're going to get Adam on for that very, very shortly. But Bruno Fernandes, Ojogo are reporting this, who are, I believe, the most reliable outlet in Portugal, talking about Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes saying that Man City are out the race. Ebola, who are, they're not as good as Ojogo, but they're not terrible. They're saying that Manchester United will be looking to close this deal straight after the Nations League, and actually will have a representative there for the Nations League to pop and have a chat with him and hopefully get the deal over the line. What will make me laugh the most, I mean, I'll be laughing tears of happiness because I want to sign Bruno Fernandes, but what will make me laugh the most if we do sign Bruno Fernandes is, I don't profess to be one of these in the knows from Reddit forums or Twitter or anything like that. But the tweets I've put out, the videos I've been doing for the last 2 months, what have I always said to you? Bruno Fernandes is one of Manchester United's top priorities. I was told that, and if we sign him, that's one for the United stand, isn't it? So, I hope it really happens because he's a great player, but it will make me laugh there because none of the in the knows have been saying Bruno Fernandes is done, and I've been talking about it for at least 2.5 months. So let's see if it happens. I really hope that it does. Very, very quickly, just on De Ligt before I get Adam on. This will make you laugh. There's a few other things we need to talk about, but with De Ligt, a couple of things coming from the Catalan media, which is obviously Barcelona's area, that United are out of the race because they can't offer Champions League football. And then even better than that, a representative from Barcelona, this is from the Independent in the UK, has apparently said that a player going to Manchester United is like going to the Chinese league for your career because it's about money and lack of ambition. I mean, what a derogatory, embarrassing thing to say about our football club. But you know what? It's probably bloody accurate, and it's a very, very good, accurate statement about where we are as a football club. Because 6 years ago, Barcelona were considered to be our rivals, and now we're being bantered by them, being called the equivalent of going to play in the Chinese league. That's how low we are as a football club at the moment. If you can't get any more, if the board and the manager and the players can't get any sort of enthusiasm to bounce back and fight for this badge when they're getting bantered like that. I mean, if I was Jesse Lingard and Rashford sat on England duty tonight, you spend enough time on your phones, lads. I hope you come across the tweet that we've put out and loads of people have put out about what Barcelona are saying about our football club. And instead of, filming yourself in your pants having a dance, actually, you should actually have a little tinge of sadness that you are partly responsible for why we're being bantered, and maybe next season you can be responsible at getting us back, because the fans can moan about it, but it's the players who've got to do it. Nick P says Bruno's playing right now on the telly. He looks wild. Did a Paul Scholes type tackle earlier. Look, oh God, I am gonna go and watch the Portugal game after this, obviously. But what I would say is that, please don't judge Bruno Fernandes, João Felix, Ruben Dias, De Ligt tomorrow night, any player on a bloody international game. They've played over 40 games for their team domestically and been scouted. That is what many fans and Manchester United will be judging them on. Not one game in a bloody international. Lingard will probably play brilliant tomorrow night. Does that mean he's brilliant again? No, he's been shitting a United shirt for 3 months. So, linked to everyone getting none. Will we have this conversation in August? When will we close a deal? We can't have that conversation in August, Dennis G. We simply cannot have the conversation in August that we haven't signed anybody. It just can't happen. It just can't happen. We've got to sign somebody. It's not even just one player. We've got to sign quite a few players. So there is no possibility of us saying, oh, we tried for loads of players and we didn't get them. We just can't have that. We've got to sign 4 or 5 players. Good evening, Adam. Can you hear me? Okay, we'll try again. I really want to get him on. Okay, he's coming in now. Hello, Adam. Can you hear me?
Hello, Mark. How's it going?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Yeah, very good, thanks, mate.
So we've got Adam on from Get French Football News. The first thing I'm going to ask you, I know you're going to give us a roundup on what the latest sort of United links are. I know there's a Lille goalkeeper and everything like that, but we got the news this afternoon that Buffon will be leaving PSG. Tell us about what PSG's goalkeeping options are and the likelihood that they may well move for De Gea now.
Yes, so that is the implication. It was thought that Buffon would stay on at PSG into next season. He said via social media that he was offered a second year on his contract. He's only there a year, which he turned down, and he'll of course be leaving at the end of his contract, which is up this summer. So the implication is that PSG obviously need a new goalkeeper. They're pretty short on youth team goalkeepers. There's a goalkeeper on loan in second division, but really they've only got one main goalkeeper, which is Alphonse Areola. So they're going to need to sign a goalkeeper. Kevin Trapp is coming back from Eintracht Frankfurt, but he's been frankly pretty poor at PSG in the past, and it's likely that they'll need a first choice, or at least someone to compete with Areola. Him and Buffon shared the first choice responsibilities this season. So the implication is that, having been linked with David De Gea consistently in the past, that he's the most obvious candidate, and that he would be the one they would sort of prioritise. No news specifically on De Gea moving to PSG as yet, but that's obviously the strong implication.
It is interesting. I mean, Areola, as far as I know, isn't a bad keeper for PSG anyway, so they may well just be promoting him. But having said that, I think there's 2 things I would say. One, it's whether we've always felt as United fans that De Gea wants to go back to Spain for his career, for his family and everything like that. And obviously, last time I checked, PSG was in Paris, so maybe that's not going to happen. And secondly, a positive for it if PSG want to get him is he does have 1 year left on his contract. If Buffon's gone, I think they'll get De Gea for as little as 60 million just because he's got 1 year left on his contract. So I suppose it could be that first step. We'll have to wait and see with De Gea. I saw something from L'Equipe about Pogba today as well.
They did, yes. You're absolutely right. Pogba has been in the French news consistently over the last few weeks with the French national team and their trip to the Élysée Palace this week. I saw a lot from Di Mazzario as well, who's the Italian football journalist, linking back with a move back to Juventus, which we're reporting on GFFN. Seems pretty strong reports from him. It's interesting, if he does move back to Juventus, is he just going to spend his career moving from Manchester United to Juventus and back again? It does feel like it's a bit of a bizarre move, but the reports are that he's keen on the move, having been informed of Juventus' interest. Amid Real Madrid talks have kind of been struggling along a little bit, which is where you mentioned L'Equipe, where they come in. They're saying that the talks of Real Madrid, or the potential of a Real Madrid move, is becoming less and less likely because his demands for wages have been unacceptable, was the word they used. Although Zinedine Zidane is obviously Pogba's his priority and he's continuing to push for him, but There's no formal negotiations between United and Juventus just yet, but there's been an inquiry as far as reported. And also there was also a report that there could be some sort of player exchange situation, which is with Juventus, and United to sort of sweeten the Pogba return if that was to go through. Something that often gets mentioned but rarely actually happens, I think, in transfer dealings. But an interesting idea, given United are obviously looking to strengthen a number of areas. But yeah, an interesting one with Pogba possibly interested in a move back to Juve, and the Real Madrid kind of fading a little bit with those contract demands.
Before you give us the news that you've got, Rabiot, I know it's a couple of days old now, but that was sort of hitting the weekend at United. I think the odds, the bookies in the UK have United and Arsenal as the two favourites for Rabiot.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Arsenal were interested in Rabiot, given their sort of transfer budget, having not made the Champions League after losing the Europa League final, is much smaller than they would have hoped. And as he's on a free, they will absolutely be looking to target him, although his wages will be pretty high. Yeah, United reportedly made a salary offer to Rabiot worth €10 million a year with a €5 million signing bonus, which is, again, pretty substantial. So, yeah, there's potential there, and it seems like United are keen, and there's been active discussions between United and Rabiot, and even Everton as well, report TF1, who are a French TV channel. So, yeah, there's definitely interest, and some negotiations seem to be taking place.
We'll take some of your comments in a moment if there's any sort of French-linked players you want us to put to Adam. We've got Adam from Get French Football News on again with us this week. Just been talking about the De Gea PSG Buffon leaving thing. But Adam, any particular stories you wanted to bring to our attention?
Yeah, there's one or two. I think one thing that's really interesting with the De Gea situation is that United were linked in the French press with Mike Maignan, who's the Lille goalkeeper, which suggests a bit of a goalkeeping merry-go-round. If PSG were to sign De Gea, obviously they need a goalkeeper with Buffon moving on. United would have a space, and Maignan, having been linked with United today or yesterday, could potentially fill that space. He actually was a PSG goalkeeper early in his career, youth team product, and was signed by Lille. And when Vincent Anyama, who was the Nigerian goalkeeper experience, very good goalkeeper as well, was sort of fell out with the club and lost his place in the team and eventually left. Maignan stepped in, and he's been extremely good this season. Lille finished second, a brilliant young side, really attacking, really exciting, and he's really stood out for them, and was voted the best goalkeeper in France at the Ligue 1 awards at the end of the season. He's a really exciting keeper, and similar to De Gea in terms of profile. De Gea's always had that sort of elastic ability, hasn't he? That sort of unbelievable shot-stopping ability, and Maignan has that as well, which sort of translates into he's a very good penalty goalkeeper as well, makes a lot of penalty saves, and has been fantastic this year. So he'd be a really interesting one to fit in there. Although, again, it might be a little bit difficult to make happen. United are definitely interested, or have been looking at him at least, but Lille are pretty unkeen to sell at the moment. So there's one interesting thing that United might, if De Gea was to leave, there could be a possible replacement there.
How old is he? I was just trying to predict how you spell his name, and I was having no success on my phone from there. So he's quite a young goalkeeper as well.
Yeah, I think he's 22. So De Gea joined United at a similar, maybe slightly younger age, but he had it. There's 23 actually. So a little bit of development needed, but I think he would be further on than De Gea was when De Gea joined from Atletico back in the day, who needed a little bit of development, I think, in his first couple of seasons. So a really good goalkeeper and would fit the bill nicely.
Yeah, I think if De Gea goes, that I've said before, I'd like United to go down that route, because there's Donnarumma from AC Milan as well, and we did that with De Gea. I don't mind the developments. It's I'd rather go for an up and coming keeper with the potential to be one of the world's best. So yeah, that is an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I think he'd fit in really nicely. It's whether he can sort of step up. It's obviously a big step up in quality. But yeah, good goalkeeper for sure. And Thomas Meunier is someone we talked a lot about over the last few appearances. A Belgian source, which is pretty reliable, a newspaper reported that United were the phrase they used was to rapidly close a deal, with Meunier sort of being linked with Arsenal quite strongly. So it seems that reports from Belgium suggesting that United are still pretty keen, and it could sort of happen relatively quickly. But PSG obviously demanding up to 30 million, although RMC, who are a French outlet, a radio station, said that there's some wiggle room in there between 20 and 30 million would be potentially sort of negotiable. Although it seems to be that United and Arsenal are really competing for him. Paris United, who are a very good PSG source, reported that Arsenal also on the right track to sign him. So there's still exactly. So it's a little bit to and fro, and it seems like he's somewhere in between at the moment. But he as far as we understand, he would like to stay at PSG if possible, despite Thomas Tuchel not really being a huge fan of his so far. But he's that kind of guy. I think he'd want to stay and compete for his place if possible, but somewhere between United and Arsenal if that's not on track. One final thing with the player we talked a lot about is Tanguy Ndombele. The Keep reported this week that both Spurs and Juve have formally submitted bids for Ndombele, who's also, of course, a United potential as well. So further competition for United there from two clubs with Champions League football, which might make the potential negotiations a little bit difficult with the player in particular, although United have the financial resources you'd imagine to match either of those clubs' fee. But whether any sort of anything would come of that is another question.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I heard him saying after the France game at the weekend about his future, and he mentioned, well, I could stay at Lyon because they're in the Champions League, and I immediately thought, well, he's mentioning the Champions League as a criteria there, which obviously United can't offer. So I'd be very surprised if we did get Ndombele. There is a few people talking about this Mbappe transfer request, which I just hear the word Mbappe and I totally just think straight away, well, what's that got to do with United? He'd never come to us anyway.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. I think if he was going to go anywhere, it would be Real Madrid. In a similar situation with Paul Pogba, Zinedine Zidane is a huge draw for him, and he's long been linked with Real Madrid, and has reportedly said that he would be interested in playing for them at some point. But he is from Paris. He's a PSG fan supposedly when he was younger, and I think he does want to be at the club. This transfer request is actually, it feels more like a bid for more power. When he sort of accepted an award at the UNFP Awards, he was voted Player of the Season in France, and he made his sort of acceptance speech sort of said that he was looking for more responsibility, if you like, and that could happen at PSG or that could happen elsewhere. And afterwards, he was questioned on it, and he sort of refused to respond, saying that he'd sent the message he wanted to send. Which feels like, because afterwards, it was sort of denied that he'd want to move on. He was looking to move, but it feels like he's trying to sort of play for a more responsibility at PSG in terms of being a senior player and at the club, rather than looking to engineer a move. So I wouldn't go as far as saying it was a transfer request at all. I think it's very, very likely he'll be at PSG next season, and obviously, as you said, United would be struggling to convince him to join them.
I think a lot, it's a running theme really, because you can throw Neymar into this. We were talking about Pogba before, because L'Equipe also said that Pogba's almost pricing himself out of a move. There is Juventus and Real Madrid want him, but he's just so expensive. And the same is, these players are almost losing their power. I'm sure Pogba probably wants to leave United, and even if Mbappe wants to leave PSG, or Neymar wants to leave PSG, or they're so expensive because of their fees before that. It's not like footballers of old who can manipulate a move and go, you can get me for 20 million. It's like, Mbappe might want to leave PSG, and Real Madrid might want to sign him, but they're probably going to have to find 200 million to do it. And that's the thing now. Players are probably going to have to, the top players who are worth a lot of money are probably going to have to sort of bide their time at their clubs a little bit longer than they would want to, for their price to come down a bit, for their contracts to come towards the end, to get the moves they want, because I don't think they have the power anymore. But it'd be interesting. A few people talking, I think we saw George Riley and Watto saying anything about Nicola Pepe and his move, because I think he pretty much will be leaving from Lille.
Yeah, they have. The manager, Christophe Galtier, did confirm that he expects him to leave this summer, but no, nothing further on links with United or his potential move as yet. I think it was just to pick up on a point that you made there with players. It's sort of a bit of a golden cage, isn't it? When their wages are so high and demand so high, there's only a few clubs that can sort of stump the cash, if you like, sort of to pay for those players. And Gareth Bale is a really good example. He's very fallen out with the club, would like to leave theoretically, but who's going to pay 130 million for an injury-prone 29-year-old who's would probably be made one of the highest players at pretty much any club in Europe. He's sort of priced himself out of the market, much like Paul Pogba, and potentially anyway Paul Pogba, if that's sort of the situation we're discussing, and one or two others. So I think there's quite a few players who have a very similar issue, that their wages are so high that not only like 3 or 4 clubs can afford them. And Bale would be potentially someone that's linked with Man United quite consistently, and that sort of seems to be the situation there. United are maybe one of the clubs that could afford him, but there's another group of players that their wages are so high that they have so few options, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I like that saying as well. It is a golden cage, because they are They're so valuable and they may want to move, but I don't think that where they want to go, they can be afforded. Let's have a quick look if there's anybody else asking anything about any player that we haven't sort of touched on French league-wise. I mean, it'd be interesting if Ndembele goes. There's talk of their left-back, which you mentioned last week, going to Real Madrid, which has really strengthened this week. So that would be the two players, really, as well as Fekir, which would count out Moussa Dembele. No, I can't. It's pretty much all the same players. A lot of people asking about Pepe and Rabiot, obviously. I think there's a real hunger from United players to get Rabiot, and I think it's that combination of free and I think a lot of people are quite happy to skirt over the attitude thing because we've signed players with attitude, especially French players before, like Cantona, and it's worked out quite well.
For sure, I think with Rabiot, I would think United probably are favourites at this point, given that he's sort of prioritised Liverpool. He's a fan of Steven Gerrard and of Liverpool in general, and has supposedly been keen to sort of engineer a move there, but there's been no bid made this summer. And he had Barcelona and Tottenham interested. They'd both made offers in the January window, but he didn't accept either. He sort of took his time with Barcelona, and the offer evaporated when they signed Frankie de Jong. And now he's sort of waiting for Champions League offers, which aren't coming, as we discussed previously on last week. That he sort of sees himself at one level, but I don't know if clubs and the wider European football sort of landscape agrees with that assessment. And United might be quite fortunate that that situation has presented itself, and they've dropped out of the Champions League, and they're the club that I would argue are the front runners to sign him at the moment, given that they can pay the wages that he wants. We talked about that offer and that sort of large signing bonus which he gets as a free agent. And you're right, it probably would be worth overlooking those sort of attitude issues if United were better signing, because he's very good player at the moment and potentially could develop into a truly world-class player. So I would make United favourites at the moment, and it could be a really interesting signing and a worthwhile signing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for popping on, Adam, again. Adam from Get French Football News. Give us a shout out of your socials, and thanks for coming on, mate.
No problem. It's at GFFN on Twitter for all the latest transfer reports and podcasts and feature pieces on French football and French players abroad. And I'm at _Adam_White_ and talk about European football and the like. Thanks very much. See you next week.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
So we have... sorry, let me just... close that down. Okay, so yeah, we were talking to Adam there from Get French Football News, because obviously PSG are moving Buffon on. They do have a good goalkeeper there, but maybe they would fancy a move for De Gea. I do fear that De Gea will leave Manchester United. He is the one player that I do think could leave. On top of that, Adam there saying that he feels that maybe Manchester United are favourites to sign Rabiot, which I think will make a lot of you very happy. I mean, what I like about that is there's no doubting that Rabiot has pure talent as a midfielder. There's no doubting we need a midfielder. We never should have let Herrera go for free, but if you get Rabiot in, he's definitely younger and some would say better. So that would be a positive move, and it's free. So it's not using up any of our transfer budget. And if Woodward says, really would normally cost 50 million, so we're going to take that off, up yours, Woodward. We're still going to spend that 50 million. So if you get Rabiot in, great. Meunier, I quite like Meunier. I'll tell you what, if we get Meunier and Bruno Fernandes, every in the know can sit down for Goldbridge, because what did I say? Back in April? There's a tweet. What did I say right at the start of the transfer window? I'm not an in the know. I just got told by two separate people that in March that United want Sancho, Meunier and Bruno Fernandes. Well, Sancho I think's gone because we didn't get in the Champions League. But if we get those two, I'm just going to laugh my head off. I really am. I really hope we can get Bruno Fernandes. But if we get Rabiot as well, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, bit of a recap. We opened up the show talking about Bruno Fernandes. I know we spoke about him last night, but there's something going on with Bruno Fernandes, and we'll probably be talking about him in a couple of days again, because this is what happens. You get different bits each day. So Ojogo came out today talking about it, who for me are the best Portuguese, most reliable source. They were talking about it, saying Man City are out of the race because they're probably looking at elsewhere. They don't fancy paying that fee. Inter may be entering the race. They may offer up João Mario. some sort of swap deal, so a swap deal will be mentioned again. But Manchester United very much in there in that race as well. And then Ebola saying that United could get this wrapped up by Monday, which would be great. I think if we can get him over the line, that's an A-star rating signing. I would want to sign Bruno Fernandes if we just missed out on the title to Man City. So it's not a signing that you make 6th in the league. So it'd be a very good signing for us. I think Daniel James is a good signing, but it is probably the sort of signing that Everton would make. I like that sort of signing because hopefully he can go on and be a star. But Bruno Fernandes ain't going to Everton. Bruno Fernandes is a signing you make when Man City should be signing him as well. So if we make that sort of signing, absolutely fantastic, and the signs are good. On De Ligt, we've been ridiculed by Barcelona. This was reported in The Independent. One of their representatives saying that a player going to Manchester United is like going to the Chinese league. It's about money and lack of ambition, which is just humiliating, isn't it? But that's the situation we're in, and we should use those sort of statements, not us as fans, because we will react, but the players, the manager, the coaches, the board, they should react to a damning statement like that and say, right, 2 years time we're going to rang that statement right up his arse. So that's what they should be doing with that. We were also talking about De Gea and the PSG thing there. I do need to bring some other things in as well. Very interesting that I think it was reported in the Evening Standard. I wanted to get your thoughts on there. That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's front three, his prime front three next season, will be Martial, Rashford, and a purchased right-sided player. Now, a lot of people will go mad because there's a lot of people. I mean, Brandao says Bruno Fernandes is having a crap game today. Better not sign him then. I mean, what did I say to you 20 minutes ago? Do not judge Bruno Fernandes on a performance for Portugal. I mean, seriously, this is what happened when Koulibaly played against Arsenal, and people are like, oh, we don't want Koulibaly. He's playing shit against Arsenal. We don't want him. I wouldn't spend 8p on him, let alone 80 million. I don't want Koulibaly. And you'll get the same tonight. I don't want Bruno Fernandes. He's shit, man. I'd rather have Frank Bruno than Bruno Fernandes. He's crap. We're dodging a bullet if we don't get him. It's Man City again. He's a good player. There's always a risk with a transfer, but he's a very, very good player. I forget what I was going to say. Yeah, so a lot of people not happy that this could be true, that Solskjaer's front three next season will be Martial, Rashford, and a purchased right winger. But I'm not massively bothered about that. I'm not massively bothered about that because when you think about it, when we played well, our front three was very, very good for 3 months. And it was Martial, Rashford and Lingard. Well, I think we all know Lingard's not good enough. So if you got Martial, Rashford and Pepe or Lozano or somebody of that quality, well, I think Martial can definitely get up to the level again. I think the new signing hopefully will be top quality. And Rashford has really annoyed me, but so has Martial. But I like Rashford and I like Martial. They've really annoyed me in the last few months of the season, and they have definitely been very, very poor. But I haven't given up hope on them. I don't want us to sell Rashford. I don't agree with people calling him Trashford. He's had a bad end to the season. He's been very poor. Maybe he is getting off-field influences. Maybe he does think he's made it before he's not. But he needs to be off free kicks. He needs to be a striker. You're not the next Ronaldo. But I don't think you're the next Danny Welbeck either. I think you can be a very good striker for our club. So I wouldn't be opposed to that, if I'm totally honest with you. I've had a super chat coming in here from Jonathan and Cherry Smith. Hi, Mark. Can you please explain why United fans don't want Bale to come to United, as I'm confused, as he's a world class and I'm new to this? Well, look, that's a very good comment because we've all got our own opinion on things. And I think you're right. Gareth Bale is, on his day, still one of the best players in the world. I would argue that with anybody. But I think there's a couple of reasons why Manchester United fans don't want Gareth Bale. First of all, he's 30, he's injury prone, he's very expensive, and he's also very similar to mistakes we've made in the past, like Sanchez, Matic, buying these players who, yeah, they're very, very good players, but they're on the decline. So, Sanchez is a prime example of that. So why do that again? Why keep making the same mistake again? Then the second point is we're meant to be trying to reinvent the wheel. We're meant to be trying to break the mistakes of the last 6 years and build something for the future. We don't expect to win the title, or many Manchester United fans don't expect to win the title in the next 2 years. So why buy Gareth Bale on a big transfer fee, on big wages, when in 2 years' time he's going to be finished, isn't he? Let's be honest, he'll be finished. So he doesn't fit in with what our vision for the club is, and also he's very similar to mistakes we've made in the past. So I think that's what it is all about. Let's have a look at another super chat. I mean, that's an interesting point as well. I would ask you lot about Paul Pogba. Manchester United, I read something today, Manchester United are not going to sell Paul Pogba this summer. I actually don't think Pogba will go. But there's an interesting part of that statement this summer. I think he'll go next summer. And my stance on this is this. Well, I'll put it to you. Would you sell Pogba this summer if he's going to go next summer anyway? And my answer would be yes, because for the same reason there. What's the point in having Bale for 2 years and then he's finished when we're trying to build something long term? What's the point in having Pogba for another year when he's gone in a year? If we're gonna have to replace him in a year, let's just do it now. Let's start the build now, because in a year's time when he goes, then we're still on the rebuild. And also next season when he's here, if he knows he's going anyway, is he switched on to the future of Manchester United? Is he giving everything for the shirt, or is he like, oh, I'm off next year anyway? I want people focused on a long-term plan at Manchester United. So if Pogba's off next summer, I'll get rid of him this summer, and let's just start building with players that are going to be here for the long term. Brandell says, no, I'm not like that, mate. My whole family is a fan of Sporting. He's not good enough in my opinion. I watch every game, and Dembele is different class. Well, that's interesting. I don't watch every game of Sporting Lisbon, so maybe, I'll give you that, but I think, from what I've seen of him, I think he's more than good enough for Manchester United. And at the end of the day, this is a very good point, because I said this today about James Rodriguez. Would I take James Rodriguez at Manchester United for 40 million? Yes, I would. And a few people are like, oh, he's not good enough. And I'm like, all right, okay, hold on a minute. So Bruno Fernandes isn't good enough, and James Rodriguez isn't good enough. Can I just say one thing? Do you watch every Manchester United game for the last 6 years? Because you're telling me you don't want Bruno Fernandes and you don't want James Rodriguez because they're not good enough. And we've been sat watching Lingard and Mata and bloody McTominay and Fred and Pereira and all that lot. Beggars can't be choosers. Bruno Fernandes is way better than anything that we've got in our midfield, as is James Rodriguez. We're trying to rebuild something here. We cannot be arrogant. Oh, I don't want that great player because I want somebody who's slightly greater. We are swimming in shit. We need to absolutely empty that pool and start cleaning it out and putting some water in it. I don't care whether it's triple filtered water or whatever. It's better than the slurry we're swimming in at the moment. Bruno Fernandes, yeah, we've done that from that. Harold Hulsversvold says, how much can United use before financial fair play comes into effect? De Gea and cash for Mbappe, United rebuild, very attractive for many players. I don't think financial fair play would really ever cause Manchester United a problem, because, yes, we carry debt, but we make so much money in revenue. Yeah. And also, if City never get away with it constantly, we're more than fine. Prishwari Prasad says, Verratti mark. I don't think Verratti is even being mentioned with a move, unfortunately. Mike Lurtis says, Mark, what do you think about bend over from Spurs? That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Any news on Nicolas Pepe? Says Pritesh, we did that. And love the videos. Hope we can get a few deals done, says Matty Waters. Sebastian Anderson, do you think we would have signed Mbappe if Zidane came to United? I really believe Zidane wanted the United job anyway. Well, we'll never know. We'll never know about that. But I think Mbappe's unrealistic. I think, like Adam says, there's a golden cage around some of these players where they're too expensive, whether they want to leave or not. How many signings do you think we will make, and who do you think we will get? Your opinion, Mark, says Philip Burtonwood. I think we'll make 5 signings, and I'm still going to stand by what I was told. I think we'll get Fernandes and Meunier. I think that will definitely be 2 of the players that we get. And, well, not definitely. You can't say definitely, but I would stick with those. Daniel James as well. Rabiot's looking really good now as well. It's the centre-back I don't know. I don't know with the centre-back. It could be Harry Maguire. We could get really lucky and get De Ligt, although I just don't think... I'm just not even thinking about it, because I think something bad could happen with that, like Liverpool or something. And the right winger's interesting. I don't know who the right winger's going to be. So, yeah, I'm excited about that position. Dennis 2000, G, there's link to everyone getting... Yeah, we did that. Bruno's playing right now. The telly, yeah, we did that. Maradona wants the Manchester United job, says Thierry Mainrick. Yeah, he needs to get back on the old snort, doesn't he? He's full of it. He's absolutely full of it. I'm just waiting for it to come back to the live stream now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, by the way. Bottom right-hand corner. We're on that road to 500,000, which will be a fantastic achievement. So please do subscribe and share the video if you are already subscribed. Bottom right hand corner, get your notifications on by clicking the bell. I am going to be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. with Transfer Daily as per usual, and please do smash a like on the video. Tomorrow night, I just want to say there is an England game against Holland tomorrow night, so I will be doing the show, but it won't be at the 8 o'clock slot. I'll be doing it 7 p.m. UK time, which is an hour early, because I am going to do a watch along for the England versus Holland England game on my other channel, which is That's Football, Mark Goldbridge, That's Football. So make sure you pop over there and subscribe, or I'll put a link in the show tomorrow night for you. So yeah, obviously I'm going to watch it because it's England, isn't it? There's some United lads playing, but I think we'll all be watching it for Delit as well. Welcome to David Pendlebury, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Julian Ness says most players take up a year to acclimatise to the Premier League anyway, so I agree. Keeping someone for a year who will leave is just setting the club back a year. Thank you, Julian. I agree. Daz OW, Bruno's not good enough. 28 goals from midfield, loads of assists. I think that guy watching supports the reserves. And Pritchwari Prasad says, Mark, if we get Bruno Fernandes and Delit, both, but for that we have to start young for the next 2 seasons, would you do that for these signings? I don't really like those sort of like, you get a good thing but you've got to eat crap. I think get Delit and Fernandes and I'll go and play right back. But I'd rather that than Young. I don't want to see Ashley Young in the team. Just to go back to David Pendlebury, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Remember, you can join the club by clicking the join button. You get a little badge next to your name in the live comments and any comments you put in below. So thanks to David for supporting channel and becoming a member of the club. You also get access to our emojis as well. And Pratwar Prasad, yeah, we did that one. And George Ramos says, I have a friend who is a big sporting fan and watches them every game. And she says that Bruno is quite inconsistent, basically like Paul Pogba. If that's the case, I don't think he's the right one. Look, you know what? I think in the modern game, most players are inconsistent. And I think consistency comes from good coaching. I think that if you put Kevin De Bruyne in a United shirt, people think he'd play like he does for City. I don't think he would. I think if you put Paul Pogba in a City shirt, he wouldn't play like he does for United. He'd play week in, week out because of the coaching he gets. So inconsistency doesn't really bother me. It bothers me when they're wearing a United shirt, but it reflects on the coaching. So Bruno Fernandes comes to United, and whether he's inconsistent or not, it's about the coaching for that. I think you know United can coach that out of him. Anyway, talking about that, I'm going to go and watch the second half of Portugal versus Switzerland. Ronaldo, the GOAT, and all that jazz. And I'm going to watch a bit of Bruno myself, and a bit of Ruben Diaz, and a bit of João Felix if he is playing. I don't know. I haven't seen the start lineup yet. I'm going to whiz through the first half in half time. But what I would say is you don't judge these players on one international game. I had it in the World Cup last year with Milinkovic-Savic. People were clearly watching him for the first time and he had a shit World Cup. And everyone was like, what you been going on about? Goldbridge, Milinkovic-Savic is crap. And he was absolutely atrocious in the World Cup. I kept saying to people, you're judging him on the World Cup. You're judging him on playing in his national team, which he's not really used to doing. And international football is totally different to domestic football and Champions League football. The quality isn't as good and the synergy isn't as good. So if he has a crap game tonight, it doesn't mean we shouldn't sign him. In some ways, it probably helps United because if he had a great game, some of the better teams might think, if Bruno Fernandes scores a hat-trick in the second half, the big teams will be queuing up. So in some ways, it helps us. It definitely does. And as Pritashwar Prasad says, Mark, people saying that Fernandes is inconsistent, so is Pogba. Maybe they both need better players around them. Exactly. And they also need better coaching. I'll see you in the morning at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock for Transfer Daily. Please do smash a like on the video, everybody, and have a great evening. I'm really enjoying the shows. Big shout out to Drawty for the graphics that he's putting up for us. I hope you're enjoying those. If you like the polos, it is the summer. You can get one of these. I'll be wearing them on holiday, loads of them. It says Goldbridge is the best on the back, but yours will say nothing if you get one. The link's in the video description for United Stand merchandise with the old United Stand badge. Adidas, got the things on the shoulders. We've got lots of stuff you can get. So the link's in the video description for that if you want to get a bit of United Stand merch and look pretty cool this summer. I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.